In the bustling crossroads of the ancient world, where cultures, languages, and peoples mingled along the trade routes of the Mediterranean, perceptions and assumptions about identity could shape destinies. Among these travelers was Paul, a man whose journey would reverberate across centuries. Born in Tarsus, a city renowned for its learning and diversity, Paul was a Roman citizen with deep Jewish roots. Yet despite the clarity of his heritage and the depth of his convictions, Paul found that outward appearances often colored the lens through which others viewed him. It was during his travels, as he carried the message of hope and transformation, that Paul encountered a world rich in diversity, but also shaped by quick judgments and surface impressions. The lands he traversed, Judea, Asia Minor, Greece, and beyond, were a mosaic of cultures, each with its own customs, beliefs, and expectations. And in Jerusalem, the city at the heart of spiritual longing and political tension, these complexities often converged in dramatic ways. Paul's African appearance set him apart. The features of his face, the tone of his skin, and the way he carried himself, all these were shaped by the long heritage of his people, whose history stretched back through the generations, touched by the sun of many lands. In the Mediterranean world, the boundaries between African, Asian, and European were fluid, yet also marked by the human tendency to categorize and define. It was in this environment that Paul was once mistaken for an Egyptian. The incident occurred at a moment of great tension. Paul had returned to Jerusalem, intent on sharing his experiences and uniting communities divided by suspicion and misunderstanding. Yet as he entered the temple, rumors began to swirl. Some saw in him a stranger, someone whose presence was unfamiliar and whose teachings challenged the established order. Whispers spread quickly, fueled by fear and uncertainty. When a disturbance broke out, Paul found himself at the center of a storm. Roman soldiers, ever watchful for signs of unrest, quickly intervened. As they seized Paul, a commander asked him, "Aren't you the Egyptian who started a revolt and led 4,000 terrorists out into the wilderness?" The question hung in the air, laden with the weight of assumption. The Egyptian in question had been a well-known figure, a charismatic leader who had stirred the masses and fled into the desert. He too had been marked by his African origins, and the authorities were on high alert for his reappearance. Paul's resemblance to this Egyptian was the immediate reason for the confusion, but the mistake was more than a simple error of identification. It revealed the deeper dynamics at play, the way people in positions of power often judged others by their outward appearance, and the way physical features could become symbols of suspicion or fear. In a world where identity was a complex tapestry, Paul's African appearance became a focal point for misunderstanding. Paul, however, did not shrink from the moment. He spoke calmly, asserting his true origin. "I am a Jew from Tarsus in Cilicia, a citizen of no ordinary city." His words were measured, his tone respectful. He appealed to the commander's reason, reminding him that assumptions based on appearance could be misleading. In that instant, Paul became more than a victim of mistaken identity. He became a voice for the dignity of all who are judged by their looks rather than their character. This encounter, recorded in the annals of history, resonates across the ages. It reminds us that the tendency to judge by appearance is as old as civilization itself. In Paul's day, the Roman Empire was a melting pot of ethnicities and cultures, yet even there, people were quick to label the unfamiliar as dangerous. The Egyptian, whom Paul was mistaken for, had become a symbol of unrest, and anyone who resembled him could fall under suspicion. Paul's experience speaks to a broader human truth. Throughout history, individuals have been defined, sometimes celebrated, but more often marginalized, because of the way they look. In the ancient world, as now, skin color, Facial features and other markers of identity could open doors or close them, inspire trust or provoke fear. Paul's story illustrates the power of these perceptions, but also the possibility of transcending them through dialogue and understanding. In the aftermath of the incident, Paul used the opportunity to speak to the assembled crowds. He addressed them in their own language, sharing his story and his convictions. The crowd listened, some with curiosity, others with skepticism. Paul's words bridged the gap between cultures, reminding his listeners that true identity is rooted not in outward appearance, but in the values and beliefs that guide our actions. As we reflect on Paul's experience, we see the enduring relevance of his story. In every era, societies grapple with questions of identity, inclusion, and belonging. The temptation to judge by appearance is ever present, yet history teaches us that such judgments are often misplaced. Paul's calm assertion of his true origin, his willingness to engage with those who misunderstood him, and his commitment to dialogue offer a model for responding to prejudice and misunderstanding. The ancient world was a place of constant movement and exchange. Caravans crossed deserts, ships sailed the sea, and people from every corner of the known world mingled in cities and marketplaces. In such a world, the lines between us and them were often blurred. Yet, as Paul's story shows, the impulse to draw boundaries based on appearance persisted. The mistaken identity that Paul experienced was not an isolated incident, but part of a broader pattern. For Paul, the experience became a catalyst for reflection and action. He saw in it a microcosm of the larger challenges facing his community. The movement he represented was itself a call to break down barriers, to see beyond the divisions of ethnicity and tradition, and to embrace a new way of relating to one another. Paul's message was rooted in the conviction that all people, regardless of origin or appearance, could find common ground. The episode in Jerusalem was not the end of Paul's journey. In the years that followed, he continued to travel, to teach, and to write. His letters, preserved and passed down through generations, are filled with appeals for unity and mutual respect. Again and again, Paul challenged his followers to look beyond the surface, to recognize the image of the divine in every person. In his letter to the Galatians, Paul wrote, "There is neither Jew nor Greek, slave nor free, male nor female, for you are all one." These words, revolutionary in their time, continue to inspire those who seek a more just and inclusive world. Paul's own experience of being mistaken for an Egyptian, of having his identity reduced to a matter of appearance, gave weight to his message. He knew firsthand the pain of misunderstanding, but also the power of reconciliation. The world Paul inhabited was both distant and familiar. The languages spoken, the clothes worn, the customs observed, all these were products of their time. Yet the challenges he faced and the responses he modeled remain relevant. In our own era, as societies become ever more diverse, the temptation to judge by appearance persists. The lessons of Paul's life invite us to resist such judgments, to listen more carefully, and to seek understanding. Paul's story is a reminder that the journey toward a more inclusive world is ongoing. It requires courage to speak up when misunderstood, humility to acknowledge our own biases, and a willingness to engage with those who are different from us. Paul's example encourages us to approach others with curiosity rather than suspicion, with openness rather than fear. As we imagine Paul standing before the Roman commander, we see the tension between surface impressions and deeper truths. The commander's question, "Aren't you the Egyptian?" reflects the human need to categorize, to make sense of the unfamiliar. Paul's response invites us to look beyond such categories, to recognize the complexity of every individual story. The incident also highlights the ways in which power and authority can shape perceptions. The Roman soldiers tasked with maintaining order were quick to act on rumor and assumption. Their intervention was driven by a desire to prevent unrest, but it also revealed the dangers of judging too quickly. Paul's calm demeanor and reasoned words provided a counterpoint, a reminder that dialogue is often the better path. In the years that followed, Paul's experiences in Jerusalem became part of the larger narrative of his life. He faced opposition and hardship, yet he remained steadfast in his commitment to building bridges across divides. His legacy endures not only in the words he wrote, but in the example he set, a model of resilience, compassion, and hope. As we consider the story of Paul being mistaken for an Egyptian, we are invited to reflect on our own lives. How often do we judge others by their appearance? How can we move beyond first impressions to discover the deeper truths that unite us? Paul's journey challenges us to look more closely, to listen more deeply, and to embrace the rich diversity of the human family. In the ancient world, as in our own, identity was both a source of pride and a cause for division. Paul's experience reminds us that the journey toward understanding is never easy, but always worthwhile. By choosing dialogue over suspicion, by asserting our true selves in the face of misunderstanding, we can help to create a world in which everyone is seen, heard, and valued. The story of Paul being mistaken for an Egyptian is not just a historical anecdote. It is a window into the human condition. It reminds us that appearances can deceive, but that truth and understanding are always within reach for those willing to look beyond the surface. Paul's life and legacy encourage us to seek out those deeper connections, to challenge our own assumptions, and to work toward a more inclusive and compassionate world. In the end, Paul's African appearance, far from being a barrier, became a testament to the rich tapestry of humanity. His story invites us to celebrate that diversity, to honor the unique journey of every individual, and to build bridges of understanding wherever we go. Through his example, we see the possibility of transformation, not only for ourselves, but for the world we share. Throughout history, the echoes of Paul's experience can be heard in the lives of countless others who have faced similar misunderstandings. From the marketplaces of ancient cities to the streets of modern metropolises, people continue to encounter assumptions based on appearance. Each time, the challenge is the same: to assert one's identity with dignity, to respond to prejudice with patience, and to foster dialogue in the face of division. Paul's story is a beacon for all who have ever been judged by the color of their skin, the shape of their features, or the manner of their dress. It is a call to recognize the beauty and complexity of every human being, and to reject the easy answers that prejudice provides. In his calm assertion of his origin, in his willingness to engage with those who misunderstood him, Paul offers a path forward, a path marked by courage, compassion, and hope. As we navigate the complexities of our own time, we can draw strength from Paul's example. His life reminds us that true identity is not defined by outward appearance, but by the values we hold and the actions we take. By embracing this truth, we can build communities that are more inclusive, more just, and more compassionate. In the end, the story of Paul being mistaken for an Egyptian is not just about one man's experience. It is about the timeless human quest for understanding and acceptance. It is a story that challenges us to look beyond the surface, to listen with open hearts, and to create a world in which everyone is seen for who they truly are. May we carry the lessons of Paul's journey with us as we seek to build a future where the richness of our diversity is celebrated and where every individual is welcomed with respect and love. And if you're still here, maybe your soul just got touched in the deepest place. At Tales of Black, every story is a ritual, a reminder that some memories are not written in books, but in bone and blood. If this story stirred something in you, share it with someone still wandering. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss what comes next. And if there's a legend, a memory, or a haunting you want told, leave it in the comments. Maybe your story is the next one summoned in the ritual.